Hey everybody, Zee Garcia here, and today we're going into the laboratory in this two-player tile laying game, Botanik. In this game, you are trying to create food in the laboratory, and you're going to be drafting tiles that represent machinery and some tiles that represent food, and then building a grid in front of you, building a pattern, plugging these machines into each other in order to have the most victory points at the end of the game. The way in which you get these tiles, though, is not just a straight-up drafting system. You're going to be kind of programming them first, and then if you are able to play a tile and release the one you want, then you can take it and put it in your machine. Let me go ahead and show you how it works, and I'll see you on the other side. The objective of the game is to have the most victory points, of course, and you are going to be doing that by playing tiles out here in the center and then eventually releasing those tiles from the center, adding them to your beginning tile here. Once the game is over, you'll figure out what can stay, what gets scored, which I'll go over later on, and then, of course, highest score is the winner. So here's the way this works, okay? We are going to take turns passing this strange little statue back and forth. And while it's your turn, you'll take it, you'll reveal 3 tiles, and then we go back and forth with these 3 tiles, placing them either on your side of the central board here, or in the center, in any one of the center spots. So a couple of things. For me to place one on my side, it has to share a category with the tile in the center. Either the same shape, such as these right here, so the same kind, or the same color, such as these right here. Once I've done that, then my opponent will go and use one of these 2, then I'll go and use the last one, then this moves over and they flip over 3 new ones, and we keep doing this until they're all used up, okay? Now if one goes in the center, so let's say I play this one here, my opponent will take this one, it's a character, so they can play it there, and then it comes back to me. If I play one in the center, such as there, then after one gets placed, and there's no restrictions for placing in the center, you can put one on anything, then you check if the one on your side and possibly the one on your opponent's side are still legal, meaning they still share a feature with the one in the center. If not, they are released. And if they're released, then you add them to your display. You have to play it so that pipes connect to pipes or sides connect to sides. You can do that too, okay? So that's the way that works. And then my opponent would go, they would reveal 3, they would play one, then I might play one, I might put that there, and then they might take that one there, okay? Comes back, and this continues back and forth with you, not just prepping the tile, so it's like a 2-step process. You prep it on your side, and then release it. And ideally, if you both have one, you can release your own while leaving theirs still locked, right? That's what you're hoping for. So for example, if I put this here, and then I can play later on, this comes up, and I play it here in the center, mine no longer shares a feature with that, not the same kind, not the same color, but yours is still the same color, so mine gets released while yours does not, okay? So end of the game, let's go ahead and fast forward here to what my board might look like, and then I'll explain scoring, and that'll do it. You'll understand how the game works. Alright, so let's say this is my final display here, and we are ready to score. All the tiles have run out by now, and we're going to go ahead and score that. So the first thing I need to do is check if any of the tiles are not connected to the main pipe that leads back to your starting tile here. And in this setup, these 3 here are not connected back to that pipe, so they're going to be removed. Everything else does reach there, so everything else is fine. And then we're going to score 2 things. We are going to score groups. If they are at least 3 of the same color next to each other, you get a point per tile. And then flowers, if those flowers are directly connected to a tile of their own color. So these black ones here make a group of 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then these blue ones here make a group of 4, so that's another 4 points for 8. And then flowers. This flower here is connected to at least one other black tile directly, so that's 1. This one here has 3. So that's another 4 points there. That's 12 so far. And then this one over here has a flower, but the tile is not directly connected to another black tile, so I won't get the point for that. Okay? So there you go. You figure out what your score is, your opponent does the same, and you've got a winner. One final thing I want to mention is these tiles here, whenever you release one from the central board, it never goes out here. What you do is you immediately can replace this tile with any one tile from the top of a stack out there. So I could change it with this one. And it can be literally any one of them. So in fact, I might take that one, and then you add that somewhere. And if, because you replace the top one on a tile, if that releases some of the ones that were previously there, that might cascade and release more tiles. All right? So there you go. That's how the game works. Let's go ahead and go back up top. Let me tell you what I think of it. That's Botanik, a very cool little two-player game that is engaging. It's interesting. It's kind of got a quirky look and vibe going on, but it works very smoothly. It's very engaging, and I pretty much like quite a bit about this game, a lot. So let's go ahead and talk about it, all right? We're going to start with the theme and the setting. Steampunk, machine building, producing food in a laboratory. I like the whole thing. I think it just works. And it kind of fits with the slightly sort of counterintuitive main mechanism of not just drafting a tile, but kind of putting it through a machine and boop, boop, and then you can release it, and then you can take it and build it. So I think that's neat. It really works for me. The aesthetics, great component quality. It's got unique artwork. I know some people don't like the artwork. I like it. I think it's very stylized and bizarrely charming in a way, but I know especially the people's faces, and I got a couple of them out here. Let's take a look at them here. Yeah, some of these people, you probably can't see them because they're pretty far away, but they do have interesting looking features, but I like the way they look. I think it's very, just very stylish, very captivating. It's its own world. It feels fantastical and mechanical at the same time, very steampunky, so I like the look of it. The replay value is good. There's a nice amount of discoverability in this game. During that first game, you are going to realize some things you shouldn't do, like make sure you're leaving enough open pipes that you can build a large enough network so that when the pruning comes at the end, you don't lose a large chunk of your machine, of your creation, your machine. So I like that, but then also just the way in which you tackle things, the way in which the tiles come up, what your opponent is doing and how they're behaving, how you can help yourself and ideally put them in a disadvantageous spot at the same time. I think the replayability here stays high. And coupled with that is the game arc, because the turns are so quick, they give you enough to think about where you don't feel like you're ever taking a turn for granted, but not so much that the game arc becomes bogged down, that the game slows down too much, that you have, analysis paralysis. So I think it's got a good game arc. It built up towards a nice conclusion. You sometimes will take a big risk by putting a color somewhere that isn't connected to your main fountain here, and then just hope to connect it later on in the game. Excuse me. And I like that about it. I think that's a good cadence to the whole thing. It's neat. You have to sort of look at how many tiles are left and go, do I have enough time to, if I put this over here in a disconnected place because I want it to be part of a large group, to then hook it back up into the main machinery. So that's really neat. The ease of play. The game's a little quirky, but the rulebook does a good job of explaining how it works. I had no questions going into it. Everything is laid out correctly and plainly. So while it is an interesting game mechanically, and by interesting I mean sort of different, not something I've really seen, I think, it does a good job of helping you understand what you should be doing and how it all works. Lastly, Tactics, Luck, Strategy. It gives you plenty to think about, and I like it. It's sort of, what colors do I go for? Do I go for the flowers, but when do I do it? They have a single connection, right? The ones that are plants and vegetables, and there are two kinds. There's these are the two kinds here. So plants and vegetables are two different kinds. They always have 3 flowers on them, but they always have a single plug coming out of them, a single pipe. So do you go for those? When do you go for those? They'll start shutting down your network, so to speak. So when do you do that? You have to make sure that if you want the flowers to score, that it be connected to the same color. So that's another consideration. You know, how many colors do you consider making a group of at least 3? You know, at the end of the day, here's what dawned on me after a few plays of this was, you know what this feels like is, it feels like Lost Cities, the classic Reiner Knizia card game. If Lost Cities had a spatial element, so kind of how the Alhambra card game, there used to be a card game that then became Alhambra, but anyway, the card game then became a tile game with a spatial element. This to me feels like Lost Cities, the tile game. You've got the 5 colors, you want to make big groups or they don't score at all. In that game they hurt you, but they don't score at all. You have to consider, you know, when you put down a big number or a big end cap in this game with these plants and vegetables. So the whole thing kind of feels that way, and you're always watching what's left, because when that pile runs out, that's game over. So I really enjoy it. I think it's a clever game. It's a small package that really packs a nice punch for 2 players with a quirky theme, clever mechanisms, and a lot to keep you invested and thinking about, and sort of, you know, taking chances, taking risks, maybe just making move that you need to move, you need to do because you have to ensure some things. I like the whole thing quite a bit. So this is going to get a very strong score from me. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. That is a seal of excellence. I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a clever 2-player tile-laying game, and especially if you like the look and the ambiance of this steampunky sort of setting. Botanik here is a surefire hit. So there you go, everybody. That's it for me. My name is Zee Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.